Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I am starting another pick a card and I'm using the Naked Heart Tarot deck to shuffle and pull the significator cards for each of the three piles. We're going to be asking the spirit guides and higher selves of each pile's collective for guidance they need right now in their situation to move into their best outcome and highest timeline. For pile 1, we have the Heart of Wands, which is the Queen of Wands. And that came out in reverse. For pile 2, we have the Innocence of Swords, which is the Page of Swords. About a month ago, I used this deck for significator cards for a different pick a card, and this was also the significator for one of the piles at that time. And we have the Heart of Swords, the Queen of Swords. Oh, we have two queens and a page, and two of them are swords. What are the odds? I really love the kitty cats on the swords in this deck. And those feathers are just gorgeous. Queen of Wands, Page of Swords, and Queen of Swords. Heart of Wands, Heart of Swords, and Innocence of Swords. Take your time, pause and take some deep breaths or meditate if you need to. Tap into your heart and your gut to feel into which pile or piles will have messages for you from your spirit guides and higher self on what guidance would be most beneficial for you, would be most helpful in pointing you in the right direction to move you onto your highest timeline towards your best outcome at this time. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you at your pile. Hello, pile 1. This is your reading if you chose the Heart of Wands in reverse, the Queen of Wands in reverse, as your significator card today. The fox is standing out as very significant to me, which of course it should be, being the figure on the card, but the meaning of it has not come through to me yet. And I have a tarot deck that is really based on animal symbolism, the Spirit Song Tarot. So I'm pulling that out now to bring through our next messages. Best is fitting though, because we are looking for guidance from your spirit guides and higher selves as to what guidance you need, what you need to hear right now to help point you in the right direction to move you onto your highest timeline towards your best outcome. So Spirit Song Tarot, Spirit Guides, Akashic Records. I tap in with honor and grace. Please guide me to what pile 1 needs to know. Please help me channel what guidance pile 1 needs to know, what pile 1 needs to hear. 4 of Acorns, 4 of Wands, Comfort and Community. Being drawn to put this over here and move these over. Not that much. Comfort and community. I'm not actually used to thinking of comfort as a 4 of Wands thing, but it does get associated with stability a lot, because 4 relates to having 4 strong pillars of support. And there is a lot of comfort in security. Security can actually be a prerequisite for comfort. So that might have to do with why the Queen of Wands energy is reversed here. A lack of security. Maybe guidance is coming through about how to bring yourself that security, comfort, and community. Let's see where the cards take us. 6 of Crystals, 6 of Pentacles, Synergy and Gratitude. I always think of this as the Generosity card as well, and I'm really strongly getting a message to accept generosity. And this message, this feeling that's coming through very strongly is it's about something that hasn't been offered to you yet. It's about something that's going to be offered to you in the near future. And your spirit guides are strongly urging you to accept it with gratitude. The energy they're giving me is like you're apt to say, oh no, I couldn't possibly accept, that's too much, like I haven't earned it. Maybe part of you is feeling I don't deserve it. I'm not so, it could be that you're feeling like, oh, I'm not so down on my luck that I need that level of charity, but for the bigger feeling coming through is much more like, oh, I'm not so special, I haven't done anything to merit that level of reward. And that's not what real generosity is about. It's not about having to earn something or prove your worth. It's about the innate deservingness of everyone to have the ingredients that are prerequisites for a good life, for the potential of really enjoying your life, for quality of life. Everyone deserves that opportunity. So it's not really about deservingness at the end of the day, because if everyone has deservingness, well, deservingness is a moot point, right? So it's not really about that. And your spirit guides are giving me this image of them like on their knees begging you, like, please do not turn this away. You are meant to have this opportunity. You're meant to capitalize on it and take advantage of it to its fullest potential. You are meant to do that. It's not meant to go to someone else more deserving. This opportunity is tailor-made for you. It's not about you being more deserving than someone else or someone else being more or less deserving than you. It's about this opportunity is for you. It's not tailor-made to fit someone else. It's tailor-made to fit you. Really specific message there. And there is a strong feeling like it's actually a person coming through to you to offer something. And it's a little bit hard to try and translate what that would look like in the 3D. It could be someone coming towards you that you meet in passing who's interested in getting to know you more and being your friend. And this is a fated friendship or relationship. It could be someone noticing your skills or gifts and asking to hire you, or providing an opportunity to connect you with someone else who might have a need for those services or gifts or skills, or who might have a bigger network of connections with whom there is a place for someone with these skills or services. 2 cards coming out together here. We have the Hanged Man, the 12th Major Arcana, and the High Priestess, the 2nd Major Arcana. Keywords on the Hanged Man are patience and perspective, and keywords on the High Priestess are intuition and sacred knowledge. And these did come out in reverse. With the High Priestess and the Queen of Wands in reverse, I'm really strongly getting, especially where the Queen of Wands is the heart of Wands in this deck, the self-doubt has got to go. You know your intuition is right. You hear when your heart speaks to you. You feel the fire with the fire element in the wands. You feel the fire in your heart. You feel when that flame lights up. You feel when it flickers. You feel when it brightens. You feel when it dims. They're showing me a spider on its web who can feel like the tiniest twitch from the far corner of the web when it's sitting at the center of the web. And they're showing that to me as an indication of you being able to feel your way through the dark because you are so in tune with your emotions with the Heart of Wands and with the intuition with the High Priestess. And sacred knowledge, you're so in tune with your higher self. So, especially when you have an opportunity coming knocking, don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt your ability to live up to or into the shoes that you're offered to fill. Don't doubt when your heart leaps because you know this opportunity is meant for you. And that advice goes for every little and big opportunity on your road in life. That's not just about this one impending instance. That really goes for everything. It goes for making small decisions throughout your day. Trust your knowing internally. Trust your heart's feeling, your heart's wisdom when you're ready to do something or not ready to do something, instead of making it out to be wrong when you're being called to in a different direction than whatever it is you think you should be doing because of programming. Recognize, ooh, okay, so there's a dual meaning with the Hanged Man. Something else was coming through, and I'll get to that in a second, but with the Hanged Man, there's also a second meaning coming through of take the pause to recognize, hey, wait a second, just because that's what some internalized voice is telling me I should be doing doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't even mean that voice that I've internalized is mine. And hey, wait a second, I've actually gotten so in touch with my heart and my intuition that I can actually tell that voice isn't my heart's and isn't my intuition's. If I pause and just feel it and let it sink in, I can feel that's not right. That's not right. I know what is right for me. There's a strong sense of homecoming coming after a potentially lifelong storm of having been trained out of trusting yourself, which is so common in our society, but just to very, very varying degrees. Some people, it's so severe that it really is, this is how I've experienced it, like every single little decision throughout the day gets questioned and is cause for like this tightening of breath, where every little decision is like, oh, this could be a little slip up that ruins everything, you know? And someone else who's a little bit not so much on that spectrum of being conditioned out of self-trust would be like, that's no big deal. I can make that decision about what to have for dinner without panic. What's the crisis? Where's the fire alarm? And that training out of self-trust does create a constant crisis, because we've been trained to believe ourselves to be an enemy to our own best interests, even when that's not really true, even when we know we're right or the person who conditioned us was wrong. That conditioning was still present, and what I'm being shown now is this marvelous gift of this conditioning unraveling. It is actually making me want to weep, because I relate to this so much, and because it's so profound and significant, the way it ripples through every little and big aspect of life, to have that conditioning unravel. And it's like, oh, I suddenly finally have room to breathe for the first time in my whole life, because I'm not being choked and strangled by this tightly wound constriction, this straitjacket of, this is what you should be doing at all times, and you're wrong if you aren't listening to me, you know, whoever that was in your childhood, and the voice that you've internalized to try to preempt them. So the Hanged Man in reverse has that, I've gotten 3 meanings from that so far. The first one being that part about pause, when self-doubt or panic or indecision or questions about what to do and so on come up. Pause when you hear that internalized voice and question, is it mine? And recognize, wait a second, I actually can tell very easily whether or not it's mine. The self-doubt has been getting to me such that even recognizing the self-doubt voice as not mine has been a challenge, maybe obstructed from me. Maybe I've been blindfolded to that. Maybe that training out of self-trust has put blinders on me even to recognizing that, wait a second, that voice of self-doubt isn't even mine. So take that pause so you can recognize that and liberate yourself in the moment, because just even realizing that will really liberate you from a lot of pressure, because you'll go, oh, wait a second, that voice doesn't know anything about me. It doesn't know anything about this situation. It's just a reflex that was trained into me. It's not actually responding to the current situation. So it can't possibly respond accurately, because it's just doing what it was programmed to do 15 years ago, 30 years ago, 60 years ago. Maybe way back in my genetic line, even maybe thousands of years or lifetimes ago. It's just doing what it was programmed to do, and it's going to have this response of self-doubt no matter what the stressor or the trigger or the input is. It's going to give that same output. So that output is an accurate reflection of the interpretation that would be correct for the input. So recognize that it will remove so much power and charge from that output, and it will make space, that pause and that recognition and the discharge of the power, that almost electric charge from the programmed response will make space for, so it's a more authentic response. If that's not really what I think of this or of myself, what are the things I really think of? And it might be an opportunity to speak out your thoughts to yourself or to a loved one or a therapist, or it might be an opportunity to journal, or it might be a more simple response where you just immediately have a yes or no once the obstruction is out of the way. And it's okay either way. Some situations you'll have a clear, that's my singing bowl, you'll have a clear as a bell yes or no. In other situations you will have, even aside from the self-doubt, conflicting parts of yourself who have thoughts that need to be untangled. But once you untangle those thoughts, they may actually turn out to be simpler than they seem when you're just looking at the tangle of earbuds. When you actually follow the rope, follow the knot, a lot of times it's actually quite simple to untangle, and it looks like a mess before you actually dive in there and get to the root. But when you actually write out those thoughts or speak them out loud, you might go, oh wait, actually now that I've said that out loud, now I recognize where it's coming from, and that actually makes this a lot simpler. It makes it so I can cut to the chase and dig up the root, and instead of being confused, oh, it's so clear now that I've actually looked at it. Sometimes we just need to focus the lens and clear the grime off of it in terms of clearing out the obstruction of that programmed response. So that's the first meaning for the Hangman I'm getting. The second one, actually the first one that came through for me was about these incoming opportunities being a long time coming, and it being like your wait is finally over. Patience and perspective. I'm not getting a specific timing here, and I think that is going to be different for everyone watching. And I think for some of you, it's that it really is going to be really super soon that some of these opportunities come in, especially the one that the Six of Crystals was about. It was like, bam, it's right here. It felt so, the energy is so strongly imminent when I tap into that feeling. That's why the spirit guides present have such an urgent message about, don't you dare turn that opportunity away. You have no idea the significance of this. And of course, deep down in your heart and your intuition, you do. And that's why they're begging you to not ignore that. But for some of you, it may not, there are some things coming in that are a long time coming that may not be that immediate. But it's like, along with the unraveling of this other conditioning, there's also an unraveling of an urgency about the weight on those things, where it's like an acceptance has been reached. For some of you, you may be in the process of reaching that right now. Others of you, it's very recently been completed, that process, where an acceptance has been reached of, you know, I do really want this thing. It's not that that's changed, but I'm not running around in despair or desperation, like half trying to look for it and half clutching my head in my hands, like, oh my God, where is it? How can I cope with not already having it? Blah, 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 blah. There's this, it's really hard to put this realization into words because it's so much deeper than just like, wait a second, I've already been living without this thing. So like, yes, I do really want it, and it is important to me. And also I recognize that I can be okay and function and maybe be happy or have a good life without it or with it in a different form, which is very important when we're opening ourselves up to recognizing opportunities, is to recognize that they may not come in the form that we've been convinced we have to look for them in. And also that they may not be readily apparent when they first show up on our doorstep. Like the person that you meet may refer someone else to you, who then introduces you to someone else, who then introduces you to the love of your life, or the person who's going to make that connection between you and your dream job, or whatever. When the opportunity first comes knocking, sometimes it's not the opportunity, it's the bridge to the highway, to the opportunity. But that is the opportunity. Wow, that roll of thunder was so loud. And it was pouring rain when I started this reading, and when I filmed the intro, since this is pile 1. And it is not raining at all right now, and I didn't see the lightning. In fact, it's half sun and half clouds outside. But the way that thunder rolled in when I said that is like, when the lightning strikes, sometimes what you're really waiting for is the roll of thunder that's 6 miles away. But when the lightning strikes, perk up like the meerkat and pay attention, because you know that means the thunder is coming. But you don't know yet how far away the thunder is when the lightning has just struck. There is still some waiting involved. Yeah, so there are steps unfolding for everyone, and for some of you, it's going to be very obvious right away, or that's not the right way to put it. For some of you, something long awaited is part of what's coming in right away. For others of you, the steps unfolding, you're going to be happy about them, but it's not like this like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this for so long. This is the opportunity of a lifetime thing right away. That's a step further down the path. That's the thunder that's coming later. And you might not even realize that this first part is the lightning until the thunder comes later. The way that I didn't even see the lightning before that thunder struck. So yeah, the third meaning of the Hanged Man that I was getting was really that release from the noose, really, though, from the unwinding of the conditioning. Actually, I think the third meaning was something else, and I think the third meaning originally that I was thinking of was that part about the perspective changing, about, okay, the first meaning was the pause that helps us to take. The second meaning was you're going to be released from this long wait presently and or soon and or in the fullness of time, depending on which opportunity we're looking at. And the third part was that perspective of, I feel released from the hanging, from the suspense, even though the thing hasn't come in yet, because the way that I'm waiting has shifted. I'm not, there's a trauma healing or and an energetic emotional release that's happened for you recently that has to do with both this unwinding of the conditioning and with this sense of, I'm not running around clutching my head going, oh my God, where is it? I'm gonna die if I don't find this. So there's an ability to peacefully go about your life during the waiting, and also peacefully take the steps that you're guided to look, rather than constantly feeling like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough to look for this thing. I'm not doing enough to chase this passion. It's like, well, actually, that's that conditioning, that programming, that non-self-trust talking. Your intuition says, hush, darling, wait, you've done enough. It's time to rest. You deserve love just as you are. You are not deficient. There being a waiting period doesn't reflect there being anything wrong with you. You're doing the right things by following your intuition. You're not messing anything up. Pardon me for a second here, guys. I'm not going to pause the video. I'm just going to quickly adjust where the camera is to try and cope with this lighting issue that I have in the one spot where I love to do my readings. It's my favorite spot, but it does come with this issue at certain times of day, which are often the best times for me to do readings. Okay. Actually, we're going to bump that up a little bit more to make sure I have room for a second row of cards. Okay. I'm shedding hair, and I keep on thinking that the little strands of hair, like this, when they touch me, are something else touching me. Oh, okay. Thanks for bearing with me, all. Which deck are you drawing me to next? Okay, the Unfolding Path Tarot. This is a really cool message. It feels really, really good. It feels like a nutrient that's been missing. I don't know how to explain it. It feels like, you know, when you've been really craving orange juice and you get that vitamin C, or you've been really iron deficient and you get that iron. That's what this message feels like. What this unwinding of the conditioning feels like. The recognition of like, oh, it's actually not, it doesn't get me any closer to my dream to be running in circles in despair about it. I was mistaking that for the sense of urgency needed to chase my dreams. It's actually not. That's actually the trauma response. It's actually the conditioning from a traumatic childhood, or from forces of pressure in the outside world. And the programming, the training not to trust myself. That desperation is this constant push of like, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not on the right track. That was the programming, the training to not trust myself. And when I am released from that, unbound from that, and unwound from that, when it's untangled from me, things start to condense and clarify, become a lot more simple and clear. But even before the kaleidoscope clicks into place and the image starts to become clear, even before that, the dust settling goes, oh, that was never a requirement for chasing my dreams to look like that, to look like chasing my tail and sobbing and not being able to get a good night's rest and, you know, sacrificing sleep and mental health and peace of mind and free time and all of that. That stuff was never actually a requirement for prioritizing my dream or chasing my dream. It's actually when I disengage from that mania of the world, that mental illness of the world. Oh no, this is the only way to pursue something that means a lot to you. It's like, wait a second. Preserving myself to actually be intact, to do, not to mention enjoy, the thing I'm passionate about is also a way of pursuing passion. Following my heart and my intuition, even when the guidance doesn't appear to have anything to do with what I'm passionate about, is also part of it. Because your heart and your intuition will lead you to so many doors and down so many roads that logic wouldn't. And those doors might open to the treasure, the very treasure you've been seeking. So many metaphors coming in. For some of you, I was like seeing a door opening on a music studio with all the finest equipment, but then it very quickly, in the vision, morphed into like this metaphor of a childhood fairy tale pirate hunting for treasure and having to burn the map, or not even having to burn the map. It's just like they get to this room and they open it up and there's the treasure they've been seeking. And they're like, huh? And they're looking down at their map and looking back up at the room. And they're like, I thought this was just a random bar I was stopping at on an island because I got stranded, and I said, screw it, while I'm here I may as well go have fun and go get drunk at the bar and have fun. This is not supposed to be the treasure. Like, this is completely the opposite of where the map was taking me. But lo and behold, the whole reason your intuition and your heart were telling you to follow this map was actually because of the very possibility, the very timeline on which you got shipwrecked and stranded and ended up here. It was never about the map. It was never about the map. Five of Wands. You know what's so funny about this? It's so different from the meaning of this card, but the jewels on the wands look so similar to what I was just seeing. I was just seeing these juicy, delicious rubies, like lit up from within with golden liquid light. In the vision of the treasure that I was looking at, I was seeing gold, and I was seeing rubies and garnets, that type of like red and pink hue of stones, and emeralds. We have the Four of Wands and the Five of Wands. And this particular Five of Wands, yes, the wands are technically clashing, but they actually look as though they're forming a very supportive structure. And I'm really getting a strong channeled energy of actual communal support, and like coming together and collaborating and channeling a bunch of different essences and flavors into creating a recipe that could not be created without all those different people, those different fingerprints being involved. You know, the one person who would do it this way, and the other person who would do it a completely different way, and the three people who also have their own unique twists on how they would do the thing. If they did it by themselves or with a different group of people, the thing would turn out completely differently. You know, the same awesome guitarist, if they formed a different band, it would be a completely different sound than that same guitarist with a different band. And maybe at first it doesn't seem like those flavors would mesh together, but it becomes the award-winning recipe. They become the band that inspires millions of people, even though at first it might seem like, what? Those styles of playing, according to what the recipe says, according to what the map says, they should clash. They should never meet. They should be in different bands playing to different parts of the world. But we live in an increasingly global world that is putting up with that type of thinking less and less, that type of ideology less and less. And that is something you're being encouraged to do here. This Five of Wands is not really about conflict. It's about not believing superficial conflict, when your heart and your intuition are telling you, when you're feeling the click with the people, or with the steps on your path. Especially with people, though, because we have the 4, 5, and 6 here. 4 of Wands, 5 of Wands, 6 of Pentacles. We have all these elements of generosity and collaboration and community. Don't believe the first superficial signs of like, oh, these things clash or don't mesh. I mean, there's chocolate and mole, guys, and people put it on chicken. You wouldn't think that chocolate and chicken should go together. So when you're first meeting people, if you feel a resonance, don't assume what their role in your life is going to be based on how at first you clash or how at first you mesh. Pay attention to the deeper signals. Don't gaslight yourself out of like removing yourself from a bad situation if it's a real, genuine conflict of interest. But take a little, don't rush away too quickly. Don't rush to be overly protective of yourself or read threat into things where it's not there. Sometimes they're not red flags, they're rubies. And that might sound, and honestly, to my like logic human brain, that sounds insane. I'm like, oh my God, don't tell people to go rushing towards red flags. So many of us have rose-colored glasses and think that red flags are rubies and end up in trouble. But that's the whole point of this reading, has been like, you actually know with your intuition and your heart. You have enough experience and enough wisdom to be able to tell the difference between the red flags and the rubies. When you actually look closely at something, it's actually very obvious whether it's a flag or a ruby, right? So it's very obvious whether it's plastic or whether it's a real gemstone once you look closely enough or are close enough to see how the light shines through it. So that's all this message is. It's about trusting your instinct, trusting like your deeper self, not and trusting that over the superficial thing that goes, what? Maybe you're, maybe you have a certain, like maybe ever since school, you've been someone who identifies more with like either the preps and like the really clean cut people, with very simple, straightforward, like clean, clear taste, or maybe on the other end of the spectrum, you've always identified more with like the emo kids or the theater kids, and you still have like a very grungy taste, and like very, maybe you get really drastic haircuts and dye your haircut bright colors, and wear really chunky makeup or chunky jewelry, or maybe you're someone who doesn't really ascribe to any aesthetic and doesn't really wear any makeup, so like both the preps and the skater kids make you really uncomfortable because it feels like they're both trying to conform to an image that for you only represents like one facet of you. And so you meet someone from one of these other groups, whichever one you belong to, or just like a completely different thing I haven't described, and you're like, I really like this person, but there's no way we could really work well together. But I really like them, so I'm going to keep talking to them. Listen to that. Don't write them off because of the instinct. Listen to how kind they are. Listen to how your body and your energy respond to them. Listen to how your heart responds to their heart, to their words, and to their actions. And if you're getting a yes on those levels, just keep getting to know them and find out what it is that you are meant to create together, to collaborate on, what unique ingredients you both have, or this whole group has, that can blend together. Maybe at first the prep and the skater meet and they're both musicians, but they go, we could never make music together. But then they keep talking and bonding, and they get to know each other, and they realize, oh, we've both had ideas for a song or for lyrics, or we both love like this type of music that we've never talked about before, even though they grew up playing violin lessons and I grew up listening to punk music. Like, we actually both have some similar ideas for what we want to create, or like we just happen to take out our instruments and jam one day, and the chemistry is just chef's kiss, you know? And it doesn't have to be on a work project. It could be about like building community or home life together, you know, moving to the same area, starting a farm together, you know, starting a garden together, starting a volunteer project together, becoming like really building a close-knit found family friend group, such that in the future, you know, some of you could actually be like aunts and uncles to each other's children and have that type of community where it's like the whole village really is raising the children. So, and it could apply on more than one dimension simultaneously, especially if you're meeting a friend. Like, they could become someone who collaborates with you on some work projects but not on others, or they could introduce you to other collaborators, or it could become people you raise children with. It could be a bunch of different things. But with the Four of Wands and the energy I'm getting through this specific reading on this Five of Wands, it really is like something that's going to come together to be very stable and very passionate. Like, it lights the people involved up, and it creates something that inspires others as well, with the way the rubies glow and the fire and the wand element and the mention of community. This is something that's going to nourish and inspire and light people up, both the people who are directly involved and the people who witness or enjoy or are served by the product of the collaboration. Whether it is feeding a community or raising children or publishing art that inspires people, or teaching people how to do art, like, you know, creating some sort of course together, that not necessarily an e-course, it could be an in-person thing where you are teaching classes together. It could look any number of ways. I cannot express to you how strong this vibration I can't overstate how strong this vibration of these hands coming together that seem like they should clash, but actually it's magic. These wands are magic wands. And at first it seems like there's a duel, but then it's actually synergy. This keyword is so important. My eyes were just drawn to it and I had forgotten about it until now. The synergy from the Six of Crystals is actually sparked by what seems like a clash at first. You know, there's friction when we're creating fire by rubbing two sticks together or by sparking a match or a flint. There's friction there. But in this case, the friction is not an incompatibility and it's not harmful to each other. The friction is what's sparking the flame and the inspiration and the project. And there's stability here, where it can continue. That flame is not just a flash in the pan. It's sustainable. That's part of why it's so magical. And part of the stability that I'm getting with these specific channeled energies and these specific images is like, this is more than just one other person that you're coming together with. This is a whole group, and that's part of why it's sustainable, because when one person is resting, the other, four in this image can keep the fire going, can keep the chant going, can keep the pots stirring, can tend to the kids or the garden. So everyone has time to bow out, to rest, to take a break, to refresh themselves, to work on other things, to regain their inspiration. It's the power of groups. And the High Priestess and Hanged Man are so, in some ways, so hermit-coded. They aren't necessarily, but they do carry some of that solitude energy of really going within. So I do feel strongly that on one side here, on one side of the Significator card, on one side of the Queen, we have the group cards, and on the other, we have the solitude cards. And it is like, as these energies align and you come into this self-trust, the sparks also fly for this interweaving with others to come to be. I definitely feel like there's an energy from the Queen of Wands that hasn't yet come through. I'm really curious about it. So curious for that to come through. Which deck are you drawing me to next? Please, Spirit Guides. Because apparently that was what we were meant to get from the Unfolding Path Tarot. The Light Seers Tarot is what they're drawing me to next. The Light Seers Tarot. What else are you wanting to tell me from the Queen of Wands? What else are you wanting to tell me for this pile in general? Is there any other guidance about how these factors, these paths, these community members, these forces will come into alignment and meet and join, and how these sparks will fly? Is there any other guidance separate from that for pile 1? Is there any other, can you give me clues or insight into what the Queen of Wands is signifying for this pile? I mean, the obvious part of what the Queen of Wands is signifying is passion and popularity and just enjoyment and fulfillment of life, like being lit up in life as the Queen of Wands comes from reversed into upright energy. Those things being embodied and fulfilled. So there's an obvious layer to that, but I can feel there being other aspects to that energy. Oh, wow. Okay, so before I even pulled any cards, I was just told by your spirit guides that part of the meaning of the Queen of Wands is that although there will be many people involved in this, your role is very key in terms of you providing the spark that ultimately lights up the whole group, that ultimately sets the whole group aflame. And that you don't need to go out there seeking something in order to do this. You do this just by being yourself, your essence, your love, your passion, whatever it is that you bring to the table, just by you showing up honestly and speaking honestly with these people as you meet them. It's going to ignite this idea and the open up the portal to this potential future timeline. It's like a very, it's a leadership that is not effortless in the sense that you're not investing any effort, but effortless in the sense that you're not trying, you're not setting out to be a leader. You're not setting out to lead the charge in this specific thing. You might be setting out to be a leader in the sense of like, I'm conscious as I go about my day-to-day life and make my choices that I would like to set an example for my own self as well as the people around me. I'm conscious of the example I set through my actions, words, and choices. And that is key. And being told that that integrity is a very strong part of this group and something that you should cherish about yourself and continue to foster. So you are intentional about being a leader in that way. But when you set this spark that lights this flame, that's not something that you like could have planned if you tried. It's just the magic of you encountering those who are actually able to be lit up by that magic. You know, when the spark meets a stone, it's not going to be able to set the stone on fire, not because it's not a powerful spark, but just because that is not the material that can be set aflame by it. When it meets dry kindling, they're going to go up in flames and burn out in 2 seconds, because those are not the materials that are meant to sustain the flame. You know, maybe those people that you had in your life for 2 weeks or 2 years or whatever, you were meant to shift something for them. They were meant to shift something for you, or show you how bright your spark really was, and that it was too powerful to be sustained by them, rather than it being like, oh, there's something wrong with me that friendship or that work situation didn't last. It's like, oh, wait a second, that was showing me how bright my spark is. That situation couldn't handle it. And then in the present, it's like, wait a second, these magic wands are conduits. They're the perfect conduits. They're not going to be just burned to dust or ash by my spark. They're going to be lit up by it. Those rubies are going to channel it and magnify it and add their own flavor to it, so that my flavor, my ingredient, is intertwined with the others, and so that we're all expressed in a more sustainable way than our own individual ingredients would be. You know, just cream by itself, it makes everything else taste better, but the cream by itself is something that you can really only take a sip of or two before it starts to make your tummy upset. But when you infuse it with all these other flavors and you make a sauce with it and you toss that sauce with vegetables and grains and so on and so forth, legumes, well, suddenly you have all those other ingredients are making this small amount of cream stretch to fill so many stomachs and inspire so many people and satiate and satisfy so many people. And also you have these other vegetables and grains and things that are nourishing but might have seemed boring on their own, but then they suddenly shine when they're in that sauce, and it's making everything in the dish shine. It's not just one thing that's shining. They're all shining, and they're all more nourishing and satisfying together. And that goes for the musical metaphor I was using before too, which may not be a metaphor for some of you. Some of you may actually be musicians where that really does literally apply, but as a metaphor it also works, where, oh, it's beautiful to listen to that guitar, but it shines in a whole different way when it's combined with these other instruments and voices. Sometimes you do just want to listen to that one individual voice alone, but then it shines in a whole different way when it's in a choir. With the 5 of Cups, I'm getting a sense of like there being a gift in a loss. So a loss of a way that you might have been trying to pursue your dream. As that loss is processed and mourned fully, will become a gift where you discover, wait a second, the ways that I'm now seeking to pursue my dream, now that I no longer have that option available to me, actually suit me better. This is not actually the loss I thought it was in the end. The same way this conflict was not really a conflict in the end. this disappointment, yes, the feelings of loss and disappointment and grief are very real and must be validated and deserve to be, and loved and validated and honored and grieved with all your heart. But once that passes, sometimes there can be, or sometimes even before it passes, even as you're grieving it, you can realize, I still see that this is for the best. The same way that we can grieve people and still realize that parting ways from them is the best. You know, sometimes you break up with someone you're deeply in love with, but you know that it's best for you to do so. And it opens up a richer life path for you. Ace of Swords in reverse. Interesting. Ooh, in this Ace of Swords, there's this divine light like coming into the mind, being downloaded, you know, divine inspiration, an inspired idea. And with this Ace of Swords being reversed, I actually am getting this image of the light permeating out through the person and shining out to the world. This crow of inspiration flying off to spread the idea to the world. And I'm being shown that sword slicing through any lack of clarity that would prevent the rest of the world from seeing and understanding that light, which is really cool. Four of Pentacles, also in reverse. The Four of Pentacles has, like many of the cards, it can come out in a context where it's like, oh yes, you're saving money, you're saving resources, you're protecting your energy, you're protecting your boundaries. Awesome. You've made a good start. You have a solid foundation for yourself. But it can also come out in a context where it's more like you're being overly constrictive of your resources and you're actually kind of undermining your own security instead of preserving it. And with this Four of Pentacles reversed, what I'm getting is not holding back in expressing yourself and your gifts to the world, expressing this light, this idea to the people around you. That's how you find your people. When you have ideas, speak about them, even if you're not, as long as you feel, again, I'm not telling you to gaslight yourself if you really don't feel safe in a situation, but if you feel safe, but you might be used to like assuming that people don't want to hear about something, try instead just sharing the thought that's on your mind, the idea that you have, because that person, well, maybe they really don't have any interest in that idea themselves, but they know 3 other people who actually really need the service you're talking about offering, or 2 people who would love to be on board with it and would love to collaborate with you, you know? Or maybe they themselves actually, despite first appearances, are totally in alignment with your plans themselves. And also with that Six of Pentacles energy from the beginning, do not constrict yourself by turning away from those who may have something to offer you. Yeah, and the Four of Pentacles is both of those messages combined for this group. Knight of Cups in reverse. Self-love, self-love, self-love. The Knight of Cups in reverse is, without fail, a self-love card for me. Like, taking that Knight of Cups offering of pure adoration and directing it inward and really seeing and cherishing you for all that you're worth. You have so much more to offer than you realize. Hence the reversals up here as well, and that process you're undergoing of unwinding the constrictions against self-trust within you. You have so much to offer. Don't hold it back. And that is going to be the key for how this all unfolds, where you create this synergy with others that becomes something magnificent, rich with flavor that could never be replicated without the exact vibrations, people, times, places, ingredients that are at play within that recipe. Thank you so much for being here. I'm not sure if this is going to get published because of the way my camera stopped recording without me realizing it. So I'm not sure if this is going to get published. I might be able to edit it together, depending on which parts of the channeled messages got cut out. This may be sufficiently complete without those specific elaborations, so I'm going to check that out later on, and this might get posted or it might not. But if it did get posted and you're hearing this, I love you so much for being here. I'm so thrilled to get to read for you and with you, and I look forward to seeing you at the next reading. And check out my website for personal readings and for the other offerings that I provide, such as space clearings for land, buildings, and homes, and personal consultations on energy healing. So thank you so much for being here, and have a wonderful day.